After the break. Thank you very much.
Hi everybody, I'm Jonas Bergqvist. That's a strange name pronouncing in English. When I used to live in the States, I always called myself Berkowitz, like a Jewish last name. That was much easier to use. And I'm based here in Stockholm. I work with functional medicine, work with especially two groups of people. People who want to heal themselves from diseases and symptoms, and people who want to optimize themselves. It could be athletes, it could be other people who just want to gain access to their mental maximum performance. And I work with clients. I teach within my own company, Paleo-Institute. We train people within the field of nutrition, lifestyle, and some biohacking. I just published my third book, which is called Eat and Live Paleo. It's right down the hall here, which basically is about the basis of the human body, what builds health through nutrition, exercise, lifestyle, emotions, and ways of thinking. And I'm here with my colleagues, Matthias and Pontus and Christine. We represent Succeeder with all the supplements and cool stuff down the hall. So I'm very happy to be here. And I'm going to talk about long-term fasting and what that can do to your immune system. And going from cool implants to long-term fasting, that's an example of how dynamic this day is, isn't it? It's two different areas. But still, the target is gaining access to your body's code and controlling your health and your performance. And let's see if this one works. No? A disclaimer, do not try this at home. If you're sitting here with an adrenal fatigue or a severe stress symptom, or you're sitting here with a severe eating disorder, this might not be something for you. But if you're not in those two groups, this is something for you. Just pronouncing the term "don't try this at home" in this crowd, it's like telling the kids, don't jump in the bed. They're going just off jumping in the bed. So we're living in a society where the food industry has power. It's a lot of money at stake, and the food industry, they produce different foods for us to eat. And the whole atmosphere is that we should eat more and more. The food industry wants the consumers to eat more and more foods. And looking at the lifestyle diseases in the modern Western world, the problem is that people are actually eating too much food. The main problem is that the processed food is rewarding to the human brain. It's not calibrated. Our brain is calibrated living in nature, eating natural foods from nature. Processed foods tells our brain, this is good. Eat more of it. The food industry makes its money. The human health becomes worse. So, what can we do to just making the opposite? Of course, you want to focus on what kind of foods that builds health. Avoid processed foods, going to natural foods. But you can also look at this term, fasting, not eating foods. And not eating, that is actually revolutionizing to the human health, to our genes, to our immune system. It calibrates the hormonal system. But no one makes actually money on it. Well, you can make money on getting the message out, but there's no product of fasting. So it's quite popular today, the intermittent fasting, that is less than 48 hours. People can skip meals. They can use the night's fast, the automatic fast of 8 hours, and extend it to lunchtime to gain health benefits from not providing the human body with calories for maybe 16 to 17 hours. People are having a 24-hour fast. That's what I usually have once or twice a month. But I'm going to talk about the long-term fasting that extends the 48 hours. What does that to the human body? And actually, the question is, what does it not affect in the human body? The therapeutic fasting is up to 2 weeks. I had a client last week that did 16 days of fasting, not eating anything for 16 days. The symptoms are, well, she could be a little bit tired during those 16 days. The brain experiences these 16 days not always positively, but it revolutionizes so many systems in the body. But she was on her work. She did exercise, but not eating for 16 days. I mean, that requires a lot of effort naturally. You don't have to do that for 16 days, but when you extend a fast above like 2 days, you really impact the genes, the epigenetic output of the genes and the immune system. It has metabolic advantages, mental energy, maybe not during those days, but in the long term, you're building health, you're calibrating the body. So in the long term, you can increase your mental performance. It detoxifies the body. It has epigenetic effects. You impact the methylation, the molecules surrounding the DNA that tells the DNA to either shut off or start activating the genes. You can impact that really obvious with a long-term fasting. And cell repair, and that is probably the most beneficial effect from long-term fasting. You let the cells in the body repair themselves. You exchange fatty molecules that have been oxidized, and you're putting in new fatty acids. And you see during a long-term fast that the body increases its production of antioxidants, decreases its production of free radicals. So in a way, fasting now and then extends your or increases your vitality. It could increase age and lifespan. And that's what you've seen in animal studies above all. And it fine-tunes and calibrates the immune system. Next picture, please. Less pro-inflammatory molecules. The body produces more anti-inflammatory molecules. And you've seen when it comes to, what's the word in English? Rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis, yeah. You've seen in studies that they could actually tell their genes to produce more anti-inflammatory molecules and decrease the pro-inflammatory molecules and have very, very beneficial symptoms relief from their disease. And what happens is that the white blood cells in the body are broken down, probably to be used as energy. That's how the body reacts when it is being supplied by calories for 2-3 days. It uses its white cells to produce energy. And then when you start eating again, it produces new white cells. So if you have an immune system when it comes to autoimmune diseases or allergies or asthma, you can really revolutionize your your health status by long-term fasting. It calibrates, it reboots your immune system. I did an own experiment for 3 days. I had no food for 3 days, and I followed that by a 10K run. What happens is I loses all my glycogen, my stored carbohydrates in the body, and I go for a 10K run. And I was very, very. I could run 20K. That was no problem, but I couldn't increase the pace. I couldn't go into the pace where I needed to burn glycogen in the body. But that was actually no problem. I was a little bit hungry during these 3 days, but otherwise, you're just fine. At the beginning, you're a little bit hungry. That goes down, and then you're fine. The green lines here, that I recommend. The red lines, I do not recommend. This was kind of a suicidal mission, because I did this 20 to 23rd December. So I was at home in my own kitchen. My fiance and my kids, they were doing the Christmas celebrations, you know, with the baking and the cooking and everything. So I had to stand that. So you don't want to do that just before Christmas. You don't want to do that close to your fridge and not close to your family that is eating normally during these 3 days. You don't want to do that along Christmas preparations. But 3 days followed by a long walk or a long run is really to recommend. During these 3 days, you can drink a little bit of bone broth to give the body a little bit of taste, water, and salt. And what I missed during these 3 days is taste, the social content of sitting with your family eating. And it was boring not to eat. You know, cooking food, sitting down, the whole thing with meals and eating. That was boring not to eat. So if you want to do a long-term fast, you can do that together in a specific environment with lectures, with activities. You can put yourself in an environment where it's easier than doing it by yourself at home. So this was my own experiment. Next picture, please. So recommendations. Come off sugar, caffeine, and alcohol cravings at least 7 days before start. Preferably a strict low carb 1 week before, because you can stand the little bit of hunger that shows up, and you're better off tolerating a long-term fast on a strict low carb diet. And 2 to 5 days of fasting, together with a 2-hour walk or 1-hour run each day. Preferably not at home, but together with other fasting people. You can eat some bone broth and drink water and salt. So this was my quick presentation of a long-term fast and what it can do to your health and your immune system. Thank you very much. Is there time for questions?
Yeah, we have time for some questions if someone has. Yes?
Have you only done one?
Yeah, I do intermittent fasting. I normally don't eat the breakfast Monday to Friday, so I have a 16-hour fast each day, and I do 1 to 2 24-hour fast each month. And then this was my experiment. I'd like to do 3 to 5 days of fast each spring, each autumn. If everyone in the society would do this, that would decrease the number of cancers or metabolic diseases. That would be so beneficial. But it's so far away from our culture and the whole industry. So that's the challenge.
Take one more question.
Definitely, thank you. Definitely it's good for the body. It's also some culture, religious community, there is a tradition. But then there's also side effects. For instance, if you fast a long time, your body adapted in the defensive mechanism system, and then you gain weight more, plus one. And second one is in epigenetic mechanism. For instance, it was research found that certain ethnic community, they were starving, and then their children had problem overweight. So how do you overcome this problem?
Yeah, well, first, you can. I didn't have time to go into that, but you can do fast for different reasons. Yeah, you can do fast for different reasons. If you have a metabolic disease, that could really revolutionize your health. But when you're not having a disease and you just want to do it for longevity and or vitality, you're good off with shorter ones. You don't have to really do long-term fasting. But true, the metabolism goes down. The brain doesn't always experience fasting very positively, but still, there's so many biological systems in the body that has positive effects by it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jonas is also going to be here during the lunch, so just grab him and please give him an applaud as well.
Thank you.